welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, Click OK, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's it going? Well, that's good to know. Glad you're all on the ball with the questions and all that. In the pre-show, we were discussing my entry point into this subject matter, which is Math Powerland. Now, Math Powerland, when I joined at least, had one of the biggest channels in this community before people like Jaren and Eric DeBay overtook him, and I lingered in the doldrums of nowhere forever for 10 years, watching everyone else outstrip me, with the exception of Math Powerland, who had originally labelled his channel the NASA channel, and that channel no longer exists as far as I can tell, and now he's only on his Math Powerland channel. So, Math Powerland's real name is Matthew Boylan, but goes by the name Math Powerland because that's what this whole deception's about as far as he is concerned. It's all done with math, it's all about power, and it's all about land, hence him taking that name. So, Math introduced me to the subject by simply talking about it on a video that was playing. I'm quite vague about this because I can't actually put my finger on exactly which video it was that I watched, because it was while I was doing other things and the iPad just played a Math Powerland video automatically, which I then started to kind of listen to and pay attention to, because he was talking about flat Earth, but without ridiculing it. He wasn't pouring scorn on it like would typically be the case if that was the subject that was being covered. So it caught my interest, and to the point where I was like, is this guy saying Earth's flat? And when the penny finally dropped, I literally had a flash of everything that I'd experienced on aeroplanes and travel, and all my doubts about NASA images all flashed before my eyes all at once. It was quite a remarkable experience. Weird that I can't actually tell you which video it was I was watching at the time. It's not like it's relevant. What was more relevant was me going into my wife's slumber to shake her awake and go, look, Earth's flat, looking out the window at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nevertheless, that was my entry into it, so I've got a certain soft spot for Math Powerland for that very reason. And just let Brian in. Yeah, apparently he's made a video that we're going to be covering today that's a secret recording that he has made that for whatever reason Creaky has got hold of and is covering. Weird, because I actually watched a couple of Math Powerland videos yesterday. There we go, that's just a weird coincidence, and he's as wacky as he always has been, covering his face in clay to leach out toxins. That's what he's doing currently. I'm just saying it like it is. If it sounds bizarre, I don't know what to say. That's Math Powerland. He's a bit of a character. So anybody else, obviously without me going on about math and my experience with him to date, which I will harp on about a little bit more if nobody else has got anything to add. But has anybody else interacted with math, know of math, watched any Math Powerland videos?
Yeah, and mud baths I recommend them. He's not weird for doing that.
Did you say I don't recommend them?
I do. He's not weird for doing that. It's a very normal thing. It's an ancient ritual, mud baths.
No, forget about the mud baths. That's just a sideline. It's like he also paints floors, but I don't necessarily want to talk to Neil about his painting ability and his flooring ability. It's more about he was the entry point for Flat Earth 10 years ago and more. So I think it's like 2006, maybe it's a little bit later, maybe it's a little bit early, it doesn't really matter. But I remember that date vaguely because Charles, Flat Earth Math, explained that he would been the subject from about 2005, which from my reckoning, because that was the one question I asked everybody when I was interviewing people on this subject 10 years ago when I first got here, and I wanted to know how people found out and how long they'd been around doing it. And up until a point, math was like the oldest first wave of modern flat earthers that I could find until I came across Charles, Flat Earth Math. Now, that might sound weird if you know who Charles is, because he's not a flat earther, quite the contrary. But he predated math in terms of his descriptions of the forums that were in existence in the mid-2000s. And it, as I said, predated math, which was a bit eye-opening. And from what Flat Earth Math, that's Charles, was telling me, around about that time, there was obviously a prevalence of flat earthers that he was dealing with in the same way he has to date with us. But they've all vanished. They've all disappeared. And round about the time that they'd all completely faded out into obscurity, math turns up on the scene and starts doing photo or painting on stage as a part of a comedy bit, if you will. So he's doing jokes and asking people whether or not a picture of a planet is really a picture or a painting, and they don't know. But obviously they're alluded to the idea of it all being photography. And he's then revealing that he made them. You know, he made these photorealistic pictures of planets on stage. And then he brings up the picture of the blue marble and asks the same question, photo or painting? Would you know if it wasn't? That was his shtick that he used originally to open people's eyes to the fakery of NASA and space. So over time...
And that's when it all started, right?
Well, no, it's never ended. I think that's the thing. If you go back and actually look, there's no severe gaps. Flat Earth has always been there. Yeah? And there's a reason. If the world is flat, dealt with, measured, experienced, built on, navigated, surveyed, and obviously observably flat, then you have to do something about that continuously. But if you're doing something proactive to stem the flow of information about the reality of a flat plane that we're dwelling atop, then there's going to be people who brace against that also. In other words, it's sort of self-fulfilling. If you've got your own controlled narrative of flat Earth out there, that in itself will generate anti-flat earthers, which may indirectly spread the word of flat Earth without realising it. Does that make sense? You're always going to have flat earthers.
Yes, but I was talking about the wave like us. It started with him, and now we're all here. The new wave of flat Earth.
Well, the second wave, the wave before us ended in 2001 with Charles K. Johnson, when he died in 2001. But in 2003 is when Matt Powerland said he found out about it at a NASA party. I think it was 2003. So, yeah, he was the start of the second wave, or this, not second wave, but
the first modern wave. So he describes it with waves, and he would absolutely categorically describe himself as a first waver. And there was various other people who appeared on the scene similar time to me that would be described as second wave in this modern genre of flat Earth. So me, Jaren, I don't know where Eric fits in, because he seems to allude to the idea that he arrived earlier than he seemed to have actually arrived. And there's various people contesting how he got his information from them in some uncredited instances. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But, you know, there is a certain amount of ambiguity. Go on.
Matt Powerland. That's where he got his information. His initial information was from Matt Powerland.
No, Paul Michael Bales. According to Paul Michael Bales, when I interviewed him, he was the one that introduced Eric Dubay to the Flat Earth Library. That's according to him. So before he'd made any videos or covered the subject, he was only interested in his yoga and his martial arts and, you know, various different vegan things. And he wasn't covering this subject. And then Paul Michael Bales, according to Paul Michael Bales, introduced Eric Dubay to the subject and all the literature and where to find it. He then away and did a load of research and then started making videos, much to Paul Michael Bales' irritation. So he started calling him a CIA shill.
Well, Matt Powerland said, I don't know. Matt Powerland said when I was listening to him speak about it that Eric DeBay approached him.
He stole his video. So what Eric
And then
Oh, you're breaking up, sorry.
Eric DeBay went off talking about it.
Yeah, Math was talking about it, but in various discussions he explained that he had worked as a contractor for NASA. So there's a connection that's being made by Eric DeBay that says something to the effect in the title of ex-NASA employee exposes space as fake, or something like that. But he basically just took Math's video and made it a big video. But it became Eric's video, which annoyed Math. I think he took him to court over it. This is all...
Matt Powerland, what annoyed him... Sorry?
No, I was just going to say this is all 10-year-old politics, but it's nice to be discussing it again as we're about to cover a Matt Powerland situation, whatever it may be. None of us are familiar, by the way. We don't know what we're covering. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. What Matt Powerland said is that Eric DeBay approached him and he was welcoming and he gave him lots of information. And then Eric DeBay started talking about flat Earth, but then he started talking about Nazi stuff and other stuff like that. And that's when Matt Powerland lost trust in him.
Talking about what stuff? I didn't catch that. Hold on, Eli. What stuff was it? I didn't catch the words that you said.
It was talking about Nazi stuff and anti-Jewish stuff and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, I do remember that now. And yeah, that was the big... Sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I'm just saying it's interesting that the political awakening is running parallel with the time frame of the modern flat Earth awakening.
Right. But just to back what Brian was just saying, yes, I do. It all comes flooding back when you mention certain details of it. So, Math's shtick was to say Eric comes along, steals all of the thunder for the subject with my video, and then turns it into some anti-Jewish nonsense, which smears us all with this bad reputation. So he was furious about it. I do remember now.
What's anti-Jewish nonsense?
Exactly as it sounds. I just don't want to give you too many details for fear of me getting
Fair enough.
hauled over the coals for it. You can imagine.
Was it really nonsense? That's all I'll ask.
Even in answering that question, I'm going to get too close to the bone for me to want to be like talking about it. Anti-Jewish is all you need to know. That's how, from memory, one of the videos Eric did got took down for exactly that. Like in the terms of service, what do they call them? YouTube community guidelines. It specifically notes that you're not allowed to attack protected groups. One of them being, Jews. It wouldn't matter if it had been transgenders that he was attacking. It just didn't look good.
Well, I think that's how he lost his original channel.
Yeah, I think you're right. So there you go. So there's been some bad blood between Math and not me, surprisingly, considering that the majority of the community at some point have turned against me. Math is one of the few that hasn't. And he like it would be my general rule with all of the community, in quotes. Math has fallen out with almost everybody except me. I can't think of any particular reason why I didn't annoy him, but I didn't. So I managed to stay on his good side, which was no mean feat. People fell out with Math all the time, but same with Eric. People would fall out with Eric back in the day all the time.
And Sleeping Warrior.
Say again?
And Sleeping Warrior.
Who fell out with Sleeping Warrior?
Everyone. At some point.
I never fell out with Sleeping Warrior. At the moment, he's still got the hump with me.
Well, he fell out with everyone then, at some point.
Yeah, but he hasn't fallen out with me in a big way. So with other people,
I'm trying to be sarcastic, and now I having a joke.
Oh, sorry. I'm contemplating it.
No. Absolutely not. Anthony never fell out with anyone, and no one fell out with Anthony, and that's the end of that.
No, I'm not saying that. It's one of those when someone's like, well, did you fall out with him? And you think, well, that's my mate. Did we have disagreements? Yeah. Is he has he got the hump with me now? Yeah. So I can't really say no. But by the same token, like I say, he's got various different notches of irritation, and how high you up that irritation scale is the reaction that I can pretty much gauge depending on what he's doing to you at that particular time, or how much he's disconnected himself from you. You know what I mean? Anyway, enough about Sleeping Warrior and Eric DeBay and Math Powerland, because we're going to be covering a bit of Math Powerland in terms of what's going on with Antarctica currently. So, without further ado, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to add to this? No? Okay. So this is Creaky Blinders video. Again, we're, as I said earlier, covering this completely blind, so I have no really idea of the context. Does anybody have any idea of the context of this video?
I haven't got a clue. Not about.
Okay. Well, in either event, please let Creaky know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream chat. Leave a polite comment without swearing, because it'll just get removed by either the YouTube algorithm, the censor bots, or Creaky himself. So just leave a polite comment that says at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The idea being, were Creaky to make a response, he'd put a link to my video in the same way I'm doing to his. In my limited capacity, as I do believe he's got more subs than I have. Yes, he has. At least I'm assisting him in the YouTube algorithm, where I would hope I would receive the same if he were to respond. So please let him know, and I do mean that in sincerity, as in don't just listen to me saying it and nod and then not do anything. If you are amongst the 70-odd people in the live stream chat currently, please toddle along to Creaky's video as I'm doing this call to action by clicking on that link in the live stream chat, leaving him a comment, helping him in the YouTube algorithm by letting him know that I sent you. Once again, the idea being that Creaky would do the same for me if he was to make a response. Hopefully that's bought enough time for at least one or two of you to have actually toddled along to Creaky's video and left him a comment so that at least he and his viewer base know that we've responded to this video. I don't know what the response is going to be, because we don't know what the video is about, and math's pretty bonkers, so we'll see how we get on. Anything else anybody wants to add during that call to action? If not, we're going to play on.
I'm the king of the flat earth. There's no delusion here. They want to call me that. Thank you. Crown. Hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Hey, good. How are you?
Pretty good. Tell me about your project.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We're just flying a flat earther and a glober through the Antarctica to see whether or not there's a 24-hour sun.
So, I had an email yesterday from Will Duffy asking me if I knew who Math Powerland was, and even though I've never actually made a video about him, of course I know he is. He's one of the original YouTube flat earthers. Now, Will had a message telling him that Math wanted to speak to him about the final experiment, so Will, being the gentleman he is, gave him a call, and in
What is the deal with Creaky and Will then? Is he like his secretary? What's going on? This is the second time that Creaky has mentioned that he's been the administrator for Will Duffy in the communication with flat earthers. Anybody?
Who knows what kind of rubbish goes on over on that side.
It is
usual flat
possible that he's a glober.
Good.
I was going to say it's possible that Will Duffy's a glober. He needs an anti-flat earther to communicate with flat earthers because direct communication would affect his glober status.
Okay. I don't know. I doubt he's aware that there's a distinction between anti-flat earthers and globers. But maybe you're right.
flat earther style. He didn't mention that he was recording it, which is a bit of a dick move to say the least. But
Why? Why would it be a dick move to record a known fraud? I would say it was extremely advisable to be recording it. Further to that, if you had even the slightest clue about Math Powerland, you'd know that almost every interaction he's ever had with anybody gets recorded. So, what, do you think this is out of character for Math Powerland? I'm thinking no. Thinking maybe you should have done a bit more homework if you're concerned about him recording your phone calls.
But is it surprising? Well, no, not really. So let's see how that call went, shall we?
So, what, it was out of order to record it, so let's publish it. Okay.
subscribe. Okay, now the first 2 minutes of this video is just Will explaining what the final experiment is. And as Will mentioned at the beginning of this video, it really is pretty simple. Some flat earthers and some globe earthers are
Some flat earthers and some globe earthers. That's the base premise for the false dichotomy. So flat earthers that actually are adhering to Will Duffy's suggestion that an azimuthal equidistant globe projection is the flat earth model, and some other people who will be assuming that they will arrive at the bottom of a ball when they get to Antarctica. That's called an antipodal assumption, otherwise known as a begging the question fallacy.
traveling to Antarctica to witness the 24-hour sun, and Matt has got some questions on that.
And so, what is it?
Oh, I can't cope with it. I'm going to have to adjust the levels on the fly. Just give me a sec. Yep. Get right into that mic, Matt.
I was joking.
Say again?
I was joking a minute ago when I said that about he needed the interaction. I think it's more about maintaining an air of importance for Will Duffy, so he's using a surrogate in this creaky fellow to make himself seem more important.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What does it prove?
Well, if there's a 24-hour sun, we live on a globe. If there's not,
Oh my god, Math managed to get the affirming the consequent fallacy out of him. Oh, Math, I could kiss you. Let's hear this again.
Has got some questions on that.
And so, what is it? What does it prove?
well, if there's a 24-hour sun, we live on a globe. If there's not, we live on a flat Earth.
I just find it strange because, like in
So if we live on a globe is an automatic assumption that you're travelling to the bottom of a globe to make this observation. Then 24-hour sun. That's the affirming the consequent fallacy. He also said it so concisely that he managed to tuck in the false dichotomy. If we don't, we're on a flat Earth. That's a false dichotomy fallacy. So we've got exactly as detailed for the last 6 straight months an affirming the consequent fallacy used to mask a begging the question fallacy of a globe assumption by antipodal positioning, further disguised by a false dichotomy fallacy. Globe, that's the antipodal assumption, versus flat. It's just a globe projection that the flat earthers are having foist upon them.
2000.
Yeah, but that's
Go.
oh, sorry. The best form I can give it is to say that if the elevation angle of the sun stays above the horizontal plane of reference for 24 hours, there is no horizontal plane of reference. It doesn't make sense, but that's the best I can formulate it.
I think it was in 2016. I was like making fun of the fact that there was like no time lapse of the midnight sun in the South Pole.
Well, that's weird, because I just did a quick YouTube search for 24-hour Antarctic sun time-lapse, and I got a buttload of results, and 2 were particularly interesting because...
So, hold on. So this evidence on YouTube of an Antarctic 24-hour sun proves what, Creaky? Okay? So you say there is. It's already been proven. We've already got the time lapses. Let's just take them as read. So we already know there is definitely, according to Creaky, a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Okay? Proving what? How does it prove we're on a ball? Oh, if you automatically assume that Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball, then the 24-hour sun confirms your automatic assumption that you were antipodal when you made the observation. Yeah, we've already basically pointed this out, regardless of whether or not the result is as you would like it to be when you affirm the consequent. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, Matt Powerland was very specific. He said in 2016. Now, before 2015, I don't remember any videos of that. I remember around 2015 there wasn't any. So maybe there wasn't any when he searched in 2016. So, I mean, your man Creaky saying, well, I just searched and I saw loads. Maybe he did in 2024. But he's talking about 2016. It's 8 years ago. So can he guarantee that some of those were from pre-8 years ago?
Yeah, one of them. Yes,
then...
the 2 videos he's picked. One is from 18 years ago, and one is from 15 years ago.
Is it?
According to what it says on them.
18 and 15 years ago. All
That's
right.
what it says. Let's have another look.
Is he? Are we asking for proof of the consequent?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. So, okay, I'll take it as read. Okay, Creaky's right. 24-hour sun. And so you can see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica. Okay? Then what? How does that prove anything? Oh, well, it proves we're on a ball. Okay, how does it prove we're on a ball? Well, when I travelled to Antarctica, I automatically assumed that I was on the bottom of a ball. And then I looked at the 24-hour sun. Okay? So you assumed you were on the bottom of a ball when you looked at the 24-hour sun that you observed, that you already knew, according to this, was going to happen. Okay? You already knew it was going to happen, but for the fact that you went and assumed you were on the bottom of a ball, this doesn't prove a damn thing.
So will Quickies go into Antarctica to observe something he already knows exists because of videos on YouTube?
Yeah. According to him, I already am satisfied that there is a 24-hour sun. Okay. So make your argument then. Your argument will be as follows. If I assume Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball... Whoa. You're already assuming you're on the bottom of a ball then?
Because one of them was from 15 years ago, and the other one was from 18 years ago. So that's a bit before 2016, Matt.
And I was kind of like really raking it over the coals over and over again, laughing. And then finally one was produced on camera, and it went through forensic, Adobe and Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, and it was it's like a solar spot with just like After Effects. And so that was it. And I found that was strange.
And you know what I find strange? The fact that you just said that you ran one of these videos through forensics.
Who cares about his terminology? He's saying there's fuckery in them. What more do you want?
And then mentioned Adobe After Effects and Adobe
Who cares?
Premiere. They're just pieces of software. Now they could...
Yeah, pieces of software exposing edits and cuts and such like. Yeah, fakery. Oh, well, let's focus on the software that he's talking about, that he might have got the name wrong or something. Who cares?
Would be used to forensically analyze footage, but you'd have to really know what you're doing.
And then...
Sorry, what? So your appeal is to whether or not Math Powerland's got the ability to forensically study whether or not something's got a splice in it. Really? Okay. So for all those people who cheated at gaming and were caught out by teenagers in Discord servers and had their world record stripped from them, oh, they'd have to really know what they were doing. They'd have to have forensic expertise. Give them back their records. No. Anybody can study any footage. And if they find flaw with it, they can expose that flaw. There are no qualifications required to show fraud and fakery. Now, this isn't the question. I've already said in this instance, I couldn't give a toss if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica or not. Because it doesn't prove anything unless you automatically assume you're on the bottom of a ball when you make the observation. So who cares? It could be there, it could not, who cares? But for the fact that you're assuming you're on the bottom of a ball, this doesn't prove anything.
Now, just recently, they said that the temperature in Antarctica is 50 degrees warmer than normal.
No way! But what the hell has that got to do with the final experiment? Now, while it's true that parts of Antarctica have experienced unusually high temperatures recently, the claim of it being 50 degrees warmer than usual is highly exaggerated and inaccurate.
Who cares?
A 50-degree increase would be an extreme and unprecedented event. They'd be talking about it on the news, and it's far beyond anything currently observed.
Now I'm going to repeat that. That's 50. Now, I don't know if that's Celsius, which is a lot, or even Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a blind bit of difference because it's not true anyway, and if you bothered looking it up, you'd know that.
And so I saw your project, and I thought, wow, I wonder if the two people who just built suns are going to be testing out their artificial suns over Antarctica, because Germany and China both have a slice of Antarctica.
No, they don't. Nobody does. That's what the Antarctic Treaty is for. Now, Germany and China...
So let me get it straight. The Antarctic Treaty that says we're not supposed to be going down there is what you're now going to appeal to, even though when anybody else on the Flat Earth side previously appeals to the Antarctic Treaty, you point out that you can go down there and it means nothing because you can go and see the penguins. So it's cherry-picked.
Down?
Go on. Down there.
Down? You mean out?
For him, it's down there, though, isn't it? He's going to be assuming antipodal positioning.
No,
Okay,
we're all flat earthers.
We are
Up
all
and
flat
down
earthers.
is
Okay,
almost
I thought I'd managed to dodge that bullet. Bastard. Slick. Very slick.
Up and-
Yeah, I can't get away with it
Normal.
either because we're all flat earthers, including Creaky. Yes, Liam. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Up and down are both with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. You can say down there. That's fine.
Not really. I mean, the down there for Antarctica, unless you're suggesting that I would reify the antipodal positions of a north and south map wrapped around or within the celestial sphere, which I don't. I understand how that works,
No.
but down there, how do you mean down there?
No,
South,
you don't-
it's not
well,
down.
it would be to say that within this diagram of the celestial sphere that we will use as our coordinates to describe where it is with relation to us, down there is not a problem as long as you're aware of what that means.
Yeah, it means antipodal flat positioning. What you're suggesting is that I can accept the antipodal assumption if I understand how the celestial sphere works, correct?
Yes. Yeah, because then you don't fall into the trap of misunderstanding what it actually is.
Right. But in so doing, I would, number one, accept that I cannot reify the existence of the antipodal south position, flat or otherwise, from the north position, because that's not how reality works. It's just the way it's modelled within two hemispherical plotted charts of the sky that are then sandwiched one underneath the other, resulting in a sphere of the heavens wrapped around two flat planes antipodal from one another.
Yes. So just as with a map, you don't have to face north to be able to read which direction you're going. Staying up and down, as long as you understand how that model works and what it's trying to show, it's not a big deal unless I guess you're in debate.
Yeah, and somebody can twist your use of antipodal as a flat earther. Let's just explain to the audience what we're talking about, though, so they can get a better grip of what we're talking about. Okay, although it's not a perfect diagram, it's good enough and it's on screen now, so I'm going to use it. So if you imagine that this is a North Pole-centric system being measured, right, and each time you back away from the North Pole, you're getting an angle to the North Pole to form a latitude grid, right? These angle measurements to your North Pole will give you this hemispherical view, half... It's not even it's not even hemispherical. It's half a circle. Yeah, it's just confusing because they've got this plane of reference underneath it that also has a drop below it to infer that it's like a sphere. It isn't. Nevertheless, you've got a perspective view, and from your perspective, what you're going to see is the star that you're looking at drop towards the horizon as you back away from it and the angle increases, right? Now that system can be plotted as latitude on a flat plane, right? It's just ever decreasing circles as you approach Polaris at its zenith, right? So you get smaller and smaller and smaller circles until you're standing below Polaris. Now, if you do the same for an inferred position with the north, so you start directly below Sigma Octantis, which I'm not going to argue about. Let's just assume you can do that. You do actually have a direct point above your head in that scenario, which you don't. Nevertheless, you can do the same thing and create a south-centric system. Again, with a view of the stars receding towards the horizon as you back away from that central point. Now, in that instance, there is no actual star to watch recede towards the horizon, which is kind of a bit squirrely in my description, but we'll have to deal with it. Nevertheless, once you're at that point where you've got two hemispherical views with your positions plotted as latitude, you can then take one of them and put it underneath the other. What you end up with is then a north flat system and a south flat system sandwiched one on top of the other. They're both flat, but you've got one on top of the other. That then forms the celestial sphere view with north and south simultaneously. Now, obviously, in reality, you can't get a view of the north and the south simultaneously. It's just a model. It's just a way of representing this dome-like view of what we see in a perspective description of a star as it reaches the horizon as we back away from it. Now, that gives you this kind of curve that you can see in this diagram. In reality, you're actually measuring two flat planes. Yeah? The sky and the ground parallel with it. But your perspective view forms this idea of a dome, right? In the same way as if you're standing at Polaris and you look out to a distant star that's on the horizon, from your vantage point, it looks like that star that's close to the horizon is lower in your view. Well, that's just perspective. It doesn't mean that that star is actually going to ever touch the horizon. If you were underneath that star, it would be directly above your head. In other words, you're dealing with a flat plane of the sky, a flat plane of the ground, and you're plotting out these positions to represent themselves as though it's a hemispherical view. And that gives you all of the chartable positions on the ground and on the maps for the north. You then do the same for the south. You turn one upside down, antipodal from the other, and then you've got your celestial sphere view. From my understanding, and I'm a bit sketchy about this, that antipodal flat Earth on top of another antipodal flat Earth hemispherical view of the stars is what is then plotted out with Haversine conversion to give you a globe in the middle of this view. Now, it still only functions from the centre of the globe, but you can plot positions that go through the lines to the celestial sphere to create an imaginary protractor called the globe that you can infer you're standing on a surface of it, when in reality it's just representative of, again, a north and a south hemispherical Haversine converted view of the globe based on these flat Earth measurements of the stars. So I know that took about 5 minutes, but based on what John was suggesting, that I could accept antipodal positioning based on the celestial sphere model, which ultimately is used in Origin to create the globe, I suggested, after he made that clear, that that would be twisted by our opponents to assert that the hemispherical antipodal sandwiched celestial sphere model does have the aftermath of the globe projected through Haversine conversion, to suggest that me saying antipodal means the bottom of a globe, which it doesn't. God, that was convoluted and long. But good point, John. Anything you want to add, or can I crack back onto the video?
I'm going to add something there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was some load of nonsense. Why don't you just say out to Antarctica instead of saying down, problem solved? Because otherwise, if you're saying down, downwards, down, it's not out. So are you going out or are you going down?
Because in the model, I just covered this 25 seconds ago. Because you can say...
What model?
This celestial sphere model.
Unless you're standing at the equator, then that all goes out the window. Because you're
not standing anywhere. We're talking about models. None of these models have got anything to do with where you stand in terms of how the model represents itself after you've charted and measured all the positions of the stars and then created a hemispherical view with them. If you then take another different part of the world, south, as we describe it, and then sandwich that underneath, what you end up with bears no relation to the reality of the ground in actuality of standing on the ground. That's a reification fallacy. It's just a model representation of those plotted points. With the circle around you, it's like the sky's parallel with you. It can never be described circular. But John's point is that in that model, you do have an antipodal flat Earth in there. So he's saying when I say down, to refer to Creaky, just to get us back onto the track of this video, when he says down, and then Liam calls me up and says, you can't say down, I'm like, yeah, I'm referring to Creaky. But John's piped up and gone, well, we can still use that terminology if we're referring to the celestial sphere. Hope that makes sense, Brian. Got QE joining. Hopefully not to pipe
not
up
really.
on this.
No.
Hold on. Hello, QE. Did you join because you wanted to make a point in this regard? Or can I move on with the video?
No, I joined because meanwhile, back at the ranch with the video, for God's sake.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you what, these models, what models do you got?
Celestial Sphere. It's your third time.
Really? Let's see it. Let's see this model.
No.
It's a diagram, Nathan. He went over this a few weeks ago.
Diagram. Yeah, just say diagram and it's the same.
What if I say no?
Word.
I've already said no twice.
Please continue with the video sometime this century.
Both have research stations in Antarctica. I can only think that that's what you mean, but they most definitely do not own a slice of Antarctica. Sorry, did you just ask me how deluded one man can be? Well, I'll show you.
I'm the king of the flat earth.
Amazon.
Okay, so it's back to smearing him, basically. Standard fare from here on forward, perhaps. What do you think, Brian?
No delusion here. They want to call me that. Thank you. Crown. I'm the guy.
Anyway, moving on.
And it's very simple. And the goal of the whole challenge to find out if it really is indeed a globe, because the globes are all like, they don't make sense. The one from Apollo, they claim is a photograph. It's got all of Africa in it, which implies the other half of the sphere has to contain enough on its sphere span, which is half of the sphere, for the length of Russia, the length of Canada, the Atlantic, and the Pacific. So it's game, set, and match on the Apollo picture. Because when you look at a sphere, you see half of the orange.
Go on.
No, that's not what sets the match. The claim that it is a picture taken from an area that cannot exist sets the match.
Yes, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. Exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah. Math is still back in 2014. Not shocking.
When you don't start to see the whole orange is the part that in the arch that starts to descend away from your view in front of a perfect sphere, or a sphere.
It's such a shame as well, because his origins could have so easily led to where we are now. If you think about it, when he's talking about is this a photo or a painting, he's saying there's no photos of the Earth from space. That was his original rhetoric. So from there to say the photos that we do have are wrong because is a regression, isn't it? From his original argument, it's worse.
Yes.
Right, like at the circumference that they claim. So that's not enough room for the rest of the world on the night side of that photo. And so then the rest are all like, and then there's NASA admitting it. And then there's NASA, the only agency in the US government that can never have a whistleblower by law.
Okay, so that's a bit weird. Then why do we get so many flat earthers claiming that they've spoken to a NASA whistleblower?
Sorry, the whistleblowers that he just showed on that video, we covered. We covered the guy. He gave us a load of nonsense waffle and word salad about aliens. So when the NASA whistleblowers are the ones on the lists that Creaky show, they're all in promotion of heliocentric rhetoric and, in this case, aliens. That was what he showed on the list. We covered that.
What he's doing is confusing someone who is said to be blowing the whistle on something wrong, and someone who has been given the status by the government as a whistleblower. He's kind of jumping between the two to make his art creaky to make his art.
There's no argument here. This is a big nothing burger.
It is. Yeah, let's move on.
Don't chase it. Don't chase
Didn't
it.
you yourself claim that you used to work for NASA even though you didn't?
There's no whistleblower protection for anybody who works at NASA. If they...
It's twisting, creaky being creaky, really. So, no, from my memory, Eric DeBay put in a title of a video he had on his original channel that it was an ex-NASA employee, whereas Math himself had said that he'd done like contracting work for them but he never actually claimed to be a NASA employee. From memory, I mean, this is going back a long time. If you can show that NASA, Math Powerland's actually turned around and said, yes, I was a NASA employee, I'd be shocked, because it's certainly not to my recollection that he ever said that. But whenever he was put on the spot and asked, he was somewhat vague about him having done work for NASA, as opposed to working for NASA, like as a subcontractor or something similar. I can't remember specifics because it's such a long time ago, but just to be clear, what I do remember, I don't ever recall Math Powerland ever saying I was a NASA employee.
Want to speak?
But of course, Creaky's taken a part of NASA. I keep calling him NASA because it used to be the NASA channel. What Math Powerland is saying, because he's talking about NASA employees. You're like, okay, so this is just tricky editing to get one over on your stupid audience. Creaky's stupid audience, that is.
Speak their mind about something they saw there. So you'll never see anything bad happening there. And we're talking about millions of dollars that I don't doubt aren't going into space research.
Well, here's Africa, and this is what the blue marble sees. Africa, and I'm looking at the other side, and I'll try and turn it exactly 180 degrees. So yeah, now Africa's...
Well, these lines wrapped around your globe, Creaky. Are they latitude lines? Is that what they are? Is that what these markers are? These shiny little markers. Ah, where'd you get them? It's almost like the globe's a protractor, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's because you got them from flat Earth measurements of the stars. That's where you get all these lines on your globe from. The globe is created with flat Earth measurements.
Facing me. Looks like there's plenty of room left on...
No.
My God, Creaky, you got a lot of adverts.
Creaky, you're a cracker.
And it's over. It's literally over. Well, it's over for you. It's over for me. We find out. I want to find out if I'm wrong. But I don't want to go look at like a big, huge flash in the sky.
Now, I'm glad Will told me that this was actually a phone call, because so far we've heard absolutely zilch from Will. He can't get a word in edgewise.
I had plenty from Will. He asked what it would prove, and he offered up that if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it proves there's a globe, and if there isn't, it proves there's a flat Earth. A nice summary of the affirming the consequent, false dichotomy, and begging the question fallacy we've been explaining for quite some time. It just took Math Powerland on a phone call to say, what does this prove, for Will Duffy to actually explain the false dichotomy, affirming the consequent, and begging the question fallacy of antipodal assumption in a nice, concise manner to Math. But we did hear Will.
So what you're saying then, Math, is you're quite happy about what the final experiment is, but you want no...
Did those words cross Math's lips? Hands up who heard Math say, I am quite happy with the final experiment and what it's going to be doing. Hands up who heard Math say that. You're just a bullshitter, Creaky. Like, you just literally got to make stuff up that he didn't say.
Part of it. So you want to prove that the Earth is flat, but...
So him saying he wants to prove the Earth is flat is translatable by Creaky as, I am happy with what the final experiment is doing. I see.
You don't want to go to the one place on Earth that could do that for you.
Sorry, how is him saying he doesn't want to go there, him being happy with the final experiment as you just professed him to have said? He didn't say it.
That makes absolutely zero sense.
What, your repositioning of him and what he didn't say doesn't make sense, Creaky? Yeah, because he didn't use the words in juxtaposition to what you said for it to make sense. Because he didn't say it. What you've inferred is that he had suggested, Math Powerland had suggested he was, quote, happy with the final experiment and its outcome, I think was the exact quote. From you. Not him. Scumbaggery. This is what they do. We had somebody in the politics server last Friday that did this with me. Before they've even had half a go at a debate, they're telling me about words I haven't said. So they can argue against those words I haven't said. And here's Creaky doing it to Math. So what, happy with the final experiment? No, those words didn't cross his lips.
Unless, of course, you were exactly the same as every other flat earther who's aware of the final experiment, and you're scared of what it's going to show us because your grift will be over. But I think yours is anyway, because where have you been?
A grift? Scared? Literally, in this video summary, I've said, okay, I'll give it you. 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Done. I accept there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Now beg for me. Beg for being on the bottom of a globe in the example of how this proves a damn thing. Oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm scared. Come again? No, beg for me, Creaky. Beg to be antipodal from where you are now. Beg for me. That's what I'll be saying to you. You think I'm in fear of your antipodal assumption? Have a laugh, mate. You're joking. No. You will be assuming that you arrive on the bottom of a ball if you arrive in Antarctica to prove that you're on the bottom of a ball with a 24-hour sun. That in absolutely no way scares me. It should scare you that you'll have to navigate the ground flat to get there, as we are currently exposing. Now, I would suggest that you are in fear of what we expose, hence your grit and determination to get me down there, in quotes, to affirm the antipodal assumption. As a flat earther, you need me, Creaky. You got people like Mr. Sensible offering up cold, hard cash to get me down there, to alleviate your fear. By assuming alongside you that you're antipodal when you get to Antarctica? No, this doesn't concern us. We pity you. Your fear of the reality that you are now faced with, having fallen down the rabbit hole of flat Earth and decided you don't like it, and then sort out ways to affirm your bias, in this case by affirming the consequent, and begging the question of antipodal assumptions that you hold as a religious belief. This is not fear. This is a concise undoing of your religious faith in a ball that is made with flat Earth measurements.
In an area that where, like where the two people that just built fake suns are like testing their sun because of the liability of cooking people. I mean, it's 50 degrees warmer. Where do you think those artificial suns are now?
Yeah, I can see why you don't really make flat Earth content anymore, Math. It's because...
Yeah, John.
Yeah, Math Powerland has just made some stuff up. I don't know why he has, but he just did. Like,
well,
why?
He may or may not have made it up. It's just, as it stands, a baseless assertion because he's not offering anything to standardise it. No evidence is being offered. No justification for the claim. According to Math Powerland, there's sun generators that have raised the temperature in Antarctica by 50 degrees because, did he say China and America have got one? Where do you think they are now? What the implied, not proven sun generators that you've suggested but not evidenced, those, I don't know where they are. Maybe in your imagination until you substantiate this claim. Right?
I could speak to it vaguely. I don't know where he got the 50 degrees from. However, Pisano had brought something up many years ago about the Japanese and the Chinese. I may still have it somewhere in my files about them being able to make suns and make them appear in the sky wherever they wanted. I'm just saying. I dropped it, but I remember Robert going over it. I think they've actually done it a few times for celebrations. Like I said, it's so vague, it's hard for me to remember it. It was so long ago. And I really don't feel like tracking it down.
You don't have to. I mean, what does the sun staying above surface level for 24 hours, how does that prove that level's not level?
It doesn't. I'm just saying where he's getting this, where Math is getting this from, I think. I think this is where, like I said, I don't know, nothing to do with temperature raising, but the effect of the sun in the sky or other luminaries in the sky has already been accomplished.
Okay, so what you're saying is there is some validity to the sun generator claim of Math. Fine. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, he didn't say that. He just said that he heard that there was a claim of them, that doesn't mean there's any validity. I'm saying the same thing that I remember hearing over the years about the sun generators that were being created by China and Japan and that. And it was all vague. There was nothing specific or definite there. You know, I have never seen one, and who cares? You know, it's flat earthers being stupid. Like, this is just one big hand wave of the past 10 years of destruction. That's all it is. And until people start seeing that for what it is, they're going to be talking about sun generators and going on with nonsense and who's going and not going to Antarctica. Who cares?
And I just give props to my panel. This is what it's all about, right? This is why we would say we're on the cutting edge. Because we're addressing the red herring, unpacking the red herring, and then someone, like Brian comes along, or QE comes along and says, don't chase this. It's like, no, because you've said that, that means that people understand why you wouldn't want to chase this down. Sun generator, me, I've taken it one step beyond that already. I've said, okay, there is 24-hour sun, hooray! And now beg for me. Beg for me. Tell me I'm in fear as you beg for your globe and its antipodal assumption. Beg for me. That's what I'm doing. Because who gives a toss? It's what that second sun, Chinook, helicopter style, couldn't give a toss. How does it prove something? It proves it because there's globers and flat earthers going down to beg the question of antipodal assumptions or a globe projection in false dichotomy. Oh, how wonderful. That doesn't prove anything. That's a false dichotomy fallacy. No, but if we automatically assume that we travel down to Antarctica and are dangling off the bottom of a ball antipodal from where we began, and then we see 24-hour sun, well, that would be an affirming the consequent fallacy. With an antipodal assumption fallacy, aka a begging the question fallacy. So what does this prove other than that you can beg? Yeah, you can beg. Right, Creaky? Right, Duffy? You're in fear of addressing any of this. We've been saying it for months. None of it's been addressed. But meanwhile, math's a bit kooky. Yeah, he is, isn't he? There might be or might not be a sun generator. Who gives a toss?
Because you're not very good at it. There are solar simulators, but they are pieces of laboratory equipment which are being used to test things that are getting sent out into space. It does not mean that they are being used to duplicate or replace our own sun. And if anyone's interested, the primary driver for the increase in temperature in Antarctica is human-caused climate change.
And on top of it, why would they make an artificial sun?
Mikey, Cricky, you're a crackhead.
I can't believe he's just said that. So his argument is, yeah, okay, there are sun generators, but they wouldn't be used for generating the sun unless they were in space. And therefore, they're not going to have any... Why are you even disclaiming this to us, Greeky? Up until now, I was willing to write it off. But now in your response, you're conceding that there are sun generators. Okay, so if I was to chase this down and ignore the fact that you're assuming antipodal positioning, we could go after the fact that it may or may not be a real sun and might be artificial by your own declaration. Yeah, who cares? You're not antipodal. You're going to need to beg for me.
Oh, well, let's melt the Antarctic and start mining it.
And what exactly would they be digging for, Math? Ice cubes?
I mean, there is a lot going on with just the flat.
Amazon.
It's a non-skippable ad, so I'm going to have to say something, otherwise there'll be dead air.
A stick at Antarctica, that could be the reason why everybody's freaking out, even if it is a globe.
But that's exactly why Will chose to take the final experiment to Antarctica, because so many flat earthers have been pointing a stick at it. And now that we go in there, everybody is in a panic. And I'm sure it's because they thought nobody like Will would ever step up and offer to pay. So
Not really. I don't think any of us here give a toss. I thought we made that clear last time we covered this. I mean, notice that in this video, he's not covering any of the antipodal assumption, begging the question fallacy, or false dichotomy fallacy alongside and affirming the consequent fallacy that is being used to delude a whole bunch of people that they've got their globe belief still intact. and hand wave, as Brian points out, the last 10 years of demolition. You want to project your fear onto us, don't you, Creaky? Why didn't I spot this sooner? You're fearful of this, aren't you? Because in your mind, you'll ignore the fact we've pointed out that there's a fallacy being employed by false dichotomy. Perhaps you're worried that that false dichotomy might not go your way. Because you're dumb. I mean, if you understood what we are actually telling you, you'd realise this is inconsequential to you also. I mean, you can retain your globe faith without this. Don't need it. Just assume that you're on the bottom of a ball, like you'll need to if you ever actually phrase this into an argument that proves you're on a ball, when you assume you're on a ball. You won't. The closest you personally, Creaky, have come so far was to say, globers are going down there. That was the closest you came in the last video. We've responded to you since. Oh, it's because you're shit scared of us, isn't it? You're shit scared of responding to anything we say and keep leaning on the fact that we're scared to being paid for to go down to Antarctica? Down to Antarctica? Yeah, beg for us. Maybe you're scared to address this stuff, Creaky. I'll just take it as it is. This is pure projection. You're not addressing what we've said, and we've said it multiple times, haven't we? What difference would it make? Okay, if I jump on that boat tomorrow and sign up for it, okay, yes is the answer. I'll go down. How's this proving a ball? Can someone lay it out for me in no uncertain terms while I demand that you beg? Can you tell me how this will prove a ball? Beg for me, bitch. Beg for me.
What can they say about it now?
You know, I could just turn my back on this and just say it was a comedy routine. And...
Oh, yeah, of course, I forgot you were a comedian. Doesn't show.
But at the same time, it's just so, it just won't go away, man. It's just like if the genie's not going back in the bottle with just a picture of a sun, especially with Jaren after behind the curve and all that. It's just not. It might even continue it, and then they'll go into the sun, so the artificial sun, and it could very well be that. I mean, you know, you've seen some of these latex masks that they put on these days. I mean, come on.
Latex masks? Now, I'm used to flat earthers going off on a tangent, but I've completely lost track of what we were even talking about.
Going off on a tangent? Interesting turn of phrase. You won't be establishing a horizontal plane of reference with a single point of tangency below an assumed sphere dangling below a plane that you'll need to reference when you fly to Antarctica. The plane is going to maintain level flight the entire way. All of the planes that you travel on always will maintain level flight all of the way. We've already established this. I mean, we asked Will to establish this for his antipodal assumption. He ignored it, like you're scared to address any of the fallacies we point out there, Creaky. But you're going to be flying there flat. Is that Brian?
Yeah, sorry. Do you know why this is happening? If anyone wants to truly know. The reason this is happening is because people didn't get behind the Black Swan. People didn't keep on promoting that the horizon is not geometric. People went off and had arguments and discussions about refraction and other stupid things.
Seeing too far.
Yeah, all this stupid rubbish. And that's the reason that this is happening there.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that. But as far as, you know, the things that you have to experience, it's only possible if Earth is a flat plane. I don't even like saying it that. You know, how can you even begin to rationalize that the elevation angle above a flat plane of a celestial object is in any way proving that it's not a flat plane?
But if I argue about whether or not it's a false sun or a simulated sun, nobody will get to the nitty-gritty of the elevation of the sun being with respect to a plane always. That's how the models and maps, diagrams and maps were created. Technically, I've just conceded to something I refused to concede to for the last month, but there we go. Hopefully that'll slip everybody by and no one will notice it.
And it was a comedy routine. It was going to be like alternative sci-fi. I was going to make movies where it's like it's not a globe and we're like going through geoponds.
Ah, right, now I get it. So you were never a flat earther then. You're just a stand-up comic who thought it would be funny to say that the earth was flat? Am I sort of along the right lines, man?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, what he's actually done was introduce the subject matter through comedy. So rather than it being deadpan, super serious, telling people the Earth's flat, he's opened their mind through a comedy routine and exposed the idea that what you believed were pictures of planets from space are actually just paintings that he made. And then he did the same with the globe. But he got away with it because he did it in a comedy routine. You're twisting that to make it almost seem like, no, he's only done it as comedy. Well, no.
Math? Now, in case you think that he hasn't said enough completely insane stuff yet, listen to this. He's definitely got a messiah complex.
And a car came out of an alley, tried to kill me, and there were cops planted there in unmarked cars waiting to scoop me up. I mean, it's been hell ever since. And I've been like holding my ground because I still got my mind and my body. I've lost my fingers. I glued them back on with clay. I had a tumor, pulled it out of my ear. I've healed myself.
Now, generally speaking, I pride myself in always being able to come up with a witty retort to anything a flat earther says. But I've got to be completely honest with you here. I've got nothing.
Sorry, witty retorts aren't really what we're concerned about. I mean, this is fascinating for your dumb audience. Meanwhile, the antipodal assumption you live in constant fear of, Creaky, is never getting addressed, is it? I mean, it doesn't matter if we say it 100 times, like I have to do with many of your compadres, like, I don't know, Muptoon or Conspiracy Cats, with the failed arguments that they can't address. Well, this is no different. You know, if you want to be Will Duffy's administrative secretary, then why aren't you addressing what is actually being put to him via this video and the last video and the one before? You're assuming you're going to the bottom of a ball. I mean, you're looking for comedic quips based on Math Powerland's kookiness. Me, I'm proving Earth's flat, Creaky. You're just projecting your fear onto us and looking for quips against some kooky flat earther.
Thing to respond to that. What you glued your fingers back on with clay? It's funny your fingers have been waving all over the screen in your video and none of them look like they were ever detached and then glued back on with clay.
Hilarious. Yes, you're so right, Creaky. We're all rolling around. We can't help ourselves.
What the? Oh crap, yeah, I forgot. Why were the cops?
Good.
Sorry, this is why Matt Powerland is the comedian.
Why, Math Powerland what?
This is why Matt Powerland is the comedian and not Creaky Blinder.
Yeah, Math Powerland does have the ability to make people laugh.
Cops after you? Was it just purely because you were a flat earther, or did you actually do something else wrong?
Just pausing for the producer to put the canned laughter in.
We need details.
I'm trying to lay low right now on all this because Justin Trudeau, I'm a Canadian, and Justin Trudeau says that I'm dangerous for civilization.
Oh, I like your thinking, Matt. And I've thought similar myself. If I ever found myself in a spot of bother where I needed to lay low so that nobody could find me, I always thought that the best way for me to do that would be to upload videos to YouTube in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
I was on a mountain, just pulled out the tumor after 9 years from this car hit in Montreal, Canada. And I went driving and I found this huge deposit of this very...
He's on the phone to Will Duffy. I have to agree with Creaky at this point. If there's no edits and this is literally contemporaneous, as in this is how the phone call rolled with literally nothing being said by Will, then, I mean, come on. Because we're in La La Land and we're not hearing much from Will.
Healing clay. And I'm healing people with these different colors of this magical clay.
Yeah, but Nathan, 1 second.
And so...
that's the whole purpose of calling him. That they know he's probably going to go on with crazy stuff. Because he's kind of a kooky character. And what Will Duffy is doing is sitting there, making a point of being quiet. Because that's what he wants. He wants to be able to sit there and use this as a type of character assassination, self-character assassination of Matt Powerland. He's sitting there smirking like he always does. That's what's going on there. Why is he not on the phone to me, or you, QE, or John, or Adam, or Eli, or any of the rest of us? Because that
Father
won't
taught
happen.
me something from the Bible, Clay.
Now, when you first found this clay, did you know it was magical then, or did you just think it wasn't? No, you can't have just thought it was normal clay, because if you thought it was normal clay, you would have thought what a normal person would think, and that would be something along the lines of, oh, I don't know, I could make a nice vase out of that. But no, you thought,
I mean, this is just an extended character assassination against Matt Powerland now, isn't it? I mean, we've had the evidence presented by Will, which is all we needed from him, because it's about as concise as I've ever heard Will describe how this is going to prove anything. So beyond this, it's just how kooky is Matt Powerland, and that's the rest of the video, is it? This is it.
I know, I accidentally chopped one of my fingers off. I wonder if this clay will help me stick it back on, because that's what all normal people think, right?
Now I'm
There's
like
going to be nothing else.
sending this clay to people all over the world. And the funny part of it is,
That people believe you when you say it's got magic healing properties?
I can replace all the big pharma, all the poison industry, the snake. And at this time, God brought me there. And now I've got no tumor in my ear. And I have to tell everybody,
Got competition, Adam.
you know, you don't need to be in pain with your eczema or your dandruff or your cancer. And I can't even say that.
Did he just say that dandruff is painful? Now, obviously, dandruff isn't a problem for me. This is what it looks like when a fully grown man is starting to lose the will to live.
So I say cell regeneration. And ever since I went public on this in 2022,
Public with the clay. I mean, no offence, but obviously math talking about this is math with math's agenda. But this is totally off topic. I mean, I'm obviously responding to this cold, so I don't know what's coming. But at this point, this is a complete nothing burger and unworthy of response.
Yeah, Nathan, just a second. For all we know, right, Matt Powerland in some way has been, or was originally, funded to do what he did, or has been compromised since. He could have been caught with coke or some nonsense like that. And his penance is to become a crazy idiot online. More than, you know what I mean? That's his penance, to make us look bad. You know what I mean? I don't trust any of this. Like, why is he on the phone to Matt Powerland? Why is he not on the phone to you?
I don't think he's got my phone number. I wouldn't want him to have it either, personally.
Yeah, but the point is, why has he not looked to talk to you? Why has he not looked to contact you? I mean, he doesn't have to have your phone number. He can contact you other ways and talk, literally audio, talk to you through the internet. How come he hasn't done that? How come he wants to be on the phone to Matt Powerland?
I think Matt
But he
Powerland called
knows-
him, actually.
No, I think he looked to talk to Matt Powerland, I think, was it?
Okay. Well, there's only 30 seconds left. Let's just get to the end of the creaky video.
there's Fauci and the NIH and the NIH PubMed library all uploading kaolin clay research.
And I'm sure they are, and at this point in the video, I just cannot be bothered to look. But I'm sure that the self-proclaimed king of the flat earth is having everybody stealing his very important work. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love.
What a load of garbage. I wish we'd covered the other video. Hey ho, that's fairly par for the course for a creaky video. I'm always left irritated after a creaky video. Any last comments before moving to the after show?
I was going to ask, if I concede that everything he said was crazy, how does that affect whether the earth is flat or not?
Doesn't. Not in the slightest. Pure fluff. Any other comments? No? With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley in 1980 or Nathan Oakley primary streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who joined as a member. Hit me up on PayPal and Ko-Fi and all that good stuff. Of course, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.